organization. We started in 2013, and we host conversation about art, architecture, design, and the built environment. We host conversations, workshops, installations, and exhibitions, all to help engage and educate the public on the value of design. Design is one word, but when you begin to scratch the surface of the design industry and the economic impacts and driver it is for our community, the results are mind-blowing. People who engage with design are more civically minded, more likely to vote, they are more likely to participate in their communities, and they are more likely to lend a helping hand. Artists, architects, visual designers, interior designers, to name just a few. And what about industrial design, fashion design, and what leads us to our conversation tonight, tech. Artificial intelligence is shaping nearly every sector, from healthcare to finance and design and education. Its relevance today lies in its ability to automate complex tasks, enhance data-driven decision-making, and create innovative solutions at an unprecedented speed. With advancements in generative AI, it is also transforming creative industries in offering new ways to design, write, and generate visual content. However, the rapid adoption of AI brings in some ethical considerations, such as data privacy, job displacement, and the need for regulation, and making it a focal point of both technological and societal discussions, as we're having this evening. And with that, I'm pleased to introduce to you community builder, urban optimist, and our moderator for the evening, Jasmine Palardy.
Well, good evening, everyone. I prepared for tonight by going on Saturday night to the Alberta Wrestling Federation, just to really get the vibe of like the ding-ding and what it was like for people to kind of throw each other on the mat with fiercity and ferocity. And it was a Viking-themed night, so I wore a Viking helmet. And I told my kids what I did on Sunday morning, and they didn't believe me, but it's true. So, a debate format, in fact, is actually my favorite format because it's an anti-panel. So what I'm going to ask for all of you to do tonight, because there's a heck of a lot of debate out there in the real world right now, and it's actually really uncomfortable. And in many ways, our world is not a 0 or a 1. It is not a black or a white. It's very gray. But cast that aside, if you will, for this time. Tonight's debate is really about leaning into pro-AI or pro-human, because the fact of the matter is a lot of the conversations and questions that we're grappling with right now as AI and machine learning really infiltrates our daily lives, as the algorithmic city and community and workday and productization around us proliferate, kind of playing in a little bit of like understanding both sides of the argument is really important. Because it allows us to ask big questions, it allows us to lean into prickly conversations, and it allows all of us to be better creators and participants in the world around us. And so with that, I'm going to practice with all of you what it looks like to vote. But we're not voting yet. We're just going to pretend, grab your sticks, your voting sticks. This is how we're going to introduce our debaters tonight. So first I'm going to say, like, are you ready? Ding, 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 ding. Okay, in corner one, we've got Team AI. Can all of you introduce Team AI by looking at your cards and holding up Team AI towards me? Excellent, I see the sea of yellow. Okay, relish in this for a moment, because hopefully you'll see the sea of yellow at the end of the debate, you guys. Okay, representing Team AI, I have with us Jinmo Rhee. Jinmo is an assistant professor at the School of Architecture, Planning and Design, so with SAPL at University of Calgary. Welcome, Jinmo. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, terrific. And accompanying Jinmo on our pro-AI team is Silviia Al-Masani, a practicing architect and a recent integrated member of our design community here in Canada. So welcome, Silviia. They're bots. Now, grab that stick, Find your Team Human side, hold it up. Let's introduce the Team Human team. Excellent, well done, audience. All right, representing Team Human in the other corner of the ring is first, Sunita Legallou. Sunita is a digital innovation strategist at SAIT. I've had a chance of working with Sunita on a handful of projects, and she's really good at pushing the envelope, so I think she's going to come in with a fierce fight tonight. And accompanying Sunita on the Team Human side is Dennis Lenarduzzi. Dennis is a creative director with Berlin Communications, and he drove all the way down the QE2 in the snow to come here and throw down tonight. Yeah, he wants to be the, every wrestling or boxing match has the bad guy, and you almost end up rooting for the bad guy.
That's unfair, Jasmine.
No. It's like, you're also not the Mike Tyson tonight, you know?
I don't slap.
But also, I'm hoping that no one is the Jake What's-His-Face either, so I think we're okay. Okay, wonderful. So here's how the debate will work. What we're going to do is each team is going to come up with their opening remarks. So their opening argument, they're going to make the case for pro-human or pro-AI. Following that, each team has a chance to make a rebuttal. We're going to go in a kind of a linear fashion in this debate, just because we've got a bit of a small space here. Following their rebuttals, we're going to go into closing arguments. Now, each of you can ooh and ah or boo and yay through this entire thing if you want to. Shake it off. It's the evening. You're good to go. At the end, I'm going to ask all of you to pick a side. It's uncomfortable, but you got to do it. Following that, we'll have a great conversation and we'll get back into the gray. So is everyone ready? Okay, dokie. All right, we are going to start this evening off with our Team Human. We did a flip of a coin up in the side room, and the head came up, and naturally that means humans. And we're going to kick off with Dennis with his opening remarks. Woo! Oh, there we go, Dennis.
I have a prepared statement for this evening. Leo Fender was a radio repairman from Southern California who saw that the future of music was in the electrification of instruments. As the founder of Fender Musical Instruments Corporation, he created the iconic Telecaster and Stratocaster guitars. In 1951, Fender released the first commercially successful electric bass guitar. It was intended to solve the problems experienced by players of the big, bulky acoustic double bass. Rock and roll was still a few years away, but bass players needed an instrument that could keep up with the loud drummers and horn sections of the big band of the day. But in a classic case of cart before the horse, there were no bass amps to complement this new bass. So Fender and his team got busy, and 1 year later released the Fender Bassman amplifier. It was designed specifically for the electric bass, and it was a dud. Bass players just couldn't get into it. Sure, it was loud enough, but bass notes need to be pure and clean. The problem with this amp, and many amps of the time, is that they got their juice from vacuum tubes. If you turned it up too loud, by nature it would get noisy and distort. In fact, if you went to a music store in the 1950s, the salesperson would likely say, "Yep, great amp, but don't turn it up past 5, gets real noisy, distorts." Leo and his team tweaked the design for years, feeding it prompts, much like you would in ChatGPT, Gemini, or Firefly. It took about 10 years before they figured out how to make an amp, any amp, let alone a bass amp, that would stay clean past 5 on the dial. One day, an adventurous guitar player decided to plug into the Fender Bassman amp and see what it would sound like with a regular electric guitar. Dude, it sounded great. And the best part, when you cranked the knob past 5, it would distort in the most beautiful, gnarly, musical way. The art of noise. Leo Fender's world had shifted. This bass amp suddenly became popular for electric guitar players who were edging into a new kind of rebellious music. Over in the UK, it was extremely popular for a new set of musicians who were embracing the rock part of rock and roll. Eric Clapton, Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin, The Who, The Stones, and countless others. A fellow by the name of Jim Marshall had a music store in London that catered to these rock musicians. He couldn't keep up with the demand for the bass amp that every guitar player now wanted for electric guitar. A combination of import duties, shipping from the US and post-World War II material scarcity was making it harder and harder to supply the demand. So Marshall decided to open up one of these suckers and see if he could clone his own Fender Bassman to sell. It's a tube amp. How hard could it be? Well, it was pretty easy. With a few tweaks here and there, the most iconic amplifier of the new era of popular music was born. Without this series of happy accidents, brilliant mistakes, and unpredictable circumstances, no Jimi Hendrix, no AC/DC, no Guns N' Roses, Kiss, Black Sabbath, Metallica, Swedish death metal, Woodstock, stadium rock, punk rock, none of it. AI is about failing forward and trying to achieve an ideal through a series of prompts and algorithms. Human creativity is born from happy accidents. We make mistakes, and then we figure out what to do with them. Cheese. Oops, honey, left the milk out too long. Forgot, it's rotten. Wait a minute, Wine. Oh, where did I put those grapes? Oh, dang, they fermented. Yum. Jazz. Oops, forgot the sheet music. Better improvise. Humans make mistakes. Humans love mistakes. Computers compute. In 1949, while Leo Fender was trying to perfect the algorithm for his amplifiers, Jackson Pollock was busy abusing alcohol and household paint. This painting looks chaotic, but nothing in nature is truly accidental. Indeed, scientists have analyzed it and, yes, have mapped out all the fractals and logic contained within it. But Pollock himself said that he painted it with an unconscious mind, in a state of no state. AI may be able to mimic the math, but AI cannot be unconscious. Creativity is about instinct, intuition, passion, emotion, experience, unconsciousness, and consciousness. That's what formulates intelligence. AI is about math, tweaking algorithms. It is calculated, smart, pragmatic, but it is always artificial, i.e. fake intelligence. What compels me to pick up a certain piece of driftwood at the beach, one that you would perhaps walk by? Who knows? Why do we love to sit in a perfectly worn out antique chair? Or spend tons of money for jeans that already have holes in them? It's because we see the beauty in the random, in imperfection. We dream, we see things in the mind's eye and feel things in the heart. The Japanese concept of wabi-sabi, seeing the beauty in the ugliness, the awareness of the transient nature of earthly things and the corresponding pleasure in the things that bear the mark of impermanence. Similarly, kintsugi, the art of taking broken pottery and gluing it back together with precious metals to celebrate the flaws and make something perhaps even more beautiful. AI cannot feel those gorgeous, illogical, poetic notions that we feel. Humans are unpredictable. On a good day, AI is at best predictably unpredictable. It can't distinguish good from bad, even if the bad is good, because it is only seeking to not fail towards some predetermined ideal. These images made you laugh. Why? Because humans can see the humor, the entertainment, the art in these mistakes. I'm willing to bet if you saw these images framed and hanging in the Glenbow or some other contemporary gallery in Calgary, not knowing that they were created in Adobe Firefly, you'd probably pause to ponder the deep meaning and personal expression of the artist who created them. And that's the most important distinction. As humans, we can see what machines cannot. AI would go, shit, I fucked up, let's try again. Why? Because it's called artificial intelligence, and artificial intelligence is just stupid.
Well, Dennis is off to a good start.
I can't even drop the mic.
All right, we're going to welcome Sunita up here to yes and Dennis's argument that chaos and randomness, rather than constantly refining a particular algorithm, is what leads us to beauty. Sunita, up to you to add on.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Dennis. That was beautifully put and really eloquent. I'll do my best to stand close to the mic so I don't have feedback. Creativity is fundamentally an emotional act. When we use our creativity, when we engage in creative works, we're accessing our emotions to let us make choices. And those creative works, our art, our words, our images, I really think of those artworks as our attempt to imperfectly express the rich experience of being human. We can't put it into words. We can't put it into a song. We can never do it justice, but we still try. And that is what makes art so wonderfully subjective and has that power to really, really connect us. Now, these emotions, these aren't just the words in our head. They're not the labels that we give them. Emotions live in our bodies. And AI doesn't have a body. It doesn't have emotions. It has descriptions of emotions and descriptions of a body, and those descriptions are really limited. It's what we tell it about being human and what we tell it about emotions. So we've all heard the phrase, you want to use the right tool for the job. So for this debate, we're talking about creative work. Is AI a friendly tool or is it a foe? You can use a hammer to build a house, or you can use a hammer as a murder weapon. So you want the right tool. The thing to remember about AI as a tool is that what it does is surface dominant voices. So that's what AI is. We do have a tendency to conflate AI with I guess a superhuman intelligence or a godlike or an omniscient intelligence. But remember that AI is a pattern detector. It finds and replicates patterns in a data set that we train it on. So as a tool, as a creative tool, it's always looking backwards. It's looking at what has happened in the past to predict what might happen in the future. Emotions, those emotions that guide you. Emotions are what's going to let you pick something that is peculiar or quirky. Emotions will let you embrace those mistakes and have that human experience. Emotions let you jump that data set that AI is bound to. And the thing about that data set is it's really limited. That data set is trained on what we give it. We built that tool, it reflects us, and it has all of our biases and all of our blind spots. It doesn't have access to a body. It doesn't have access to that big array of a rich human experience. So it's surfacing dominant voices, and okay, that's maybe not best for a creative tool. It's looking backwards, it's not being novel. But a biased data set can be actively harmful. If AI is being built and trained and refined by a really small number of people, and then we're using that tool in our creative works, we're gonna narrow that scope, we're gonna limit that focus. We already live in places and spaces, and we use technology that's been built for certain kinds of bodies. So we already are living with problems that we've created by limiting that data set. If we're going to solve these problems, if we're going to design for a better future, we actually need all of the voices. We need all of the humans in that room. We want our data set to be as wide as possible. We don't want to narrow it. So the big promise of AI is that it's going to save us time. It's going to unlock our creative work, or our any work in any field. That's its big promise, is that it can do more faster. And in creative work, I actually think this is really dangerous. Every person I know who does creative work wants more time. They want time to sit with a problem. They want time to wrestle with it. They want time to find inspiration in crazy places. They don't want to shortcut the process. And the promise of AI is almost kind of the opposite of that, that it feeds into this idea that work can and should be instantaneous. It will conveniently never join a union. So creative work needs time. And AI, it isn't giving us meaningful time. It's not taking care of kids, it's not taking care of elders, it's not doing our dishes. It's not addressing structural inequities about whose labor is valued, who gets to do certain kinds of labor. It's going to save time, but whose? So we've talked about how creativity is fundamentally emotional, and AI doesn't have emotions because it doesn't have that body. But as a tool, is it a tool that we want to put in our belt? It replicates what it already knows. It perpetuates biases, and it's providing this false narrative that creative product is somehow separate from its process. AI has the potential to commit great wealth in the hands of a few. I don't think AI is the right tool for this job. That's my closer.
A wonderful start from Team Human, I would say. Pulling on the heartstrings, talking about humanity versus efficiency. I think you got your jib cut out for you guys. Silviia, you are up next. Please welcome Team AI.
Okay, so the other corner of our turn. So obviously, why do we fear AI? This is the usual question that is always being discussed. So in my opinion, one of the first two options that popped into my head was, is it because we fear that which has passed will no longer return, or is it because what we know and we are accustomed to is changing? So it's basically around change. But what if the change with the right narrative can be the first step towards the better? We all remember our dear Nokia phone. It was called the indestructible phone. Like, you can throw it, you can boomerang it, it will never die on you. Right? But on the other hand, everybody wants the new iPhone, the new Samsung, everybody's talking about the new apps that it has, everybody is enjoying everything that the new phone is giving to us today. But for some reason, when it comes to the topic of AI, we become so fixated on the holy trinity of AI prediction. Obviously, everybody knows this, I am sure. No matter what happens, no matter what the conversation is, when the word AI comes to mind, Neo needs help. Is it red pill or red pill? But there are some of us out there who still believe that Jarvis can come and save us. That is me. I mean, who doesn't want a Jarvis in their life, seriously? And as an architect, a designer, this motion is the one that I'm looking for. I want to zoom in into my building. I want to zoom in into the design. I want to see the options that AI can give me. Now, let's take a minute and go back to where it all began. It began with us, humans. It began with us, inventors. We invent, we evolve, we adapt, we continue. We always continue to grow. But I want to focus a little bit on a period of time that started with Industrial Revolution. Obviously, everybody knows, so I'm going to keep it a little bit short. But what I want to focus on in Industrial Revolution is how it created the concept of work as we know today, working at one place and working for a fixed amount of hours. That is something that came with the Industrial Revolution. And later on, it was adopted by the entire world, the idea of 8 hours of work and weekend. Now, I do want to ask the audience, do you think that 8 hours of work, 8 hours of leisure and sleep is optimal today? Can we get some hands or something? Come on. Yeah, no, it's not working. Okay. So the Industrial Revolution was the first move that evolved into several industrial revolutions. Everything that came afterward was coined as the second, third, fourth, and moving on. Now, computers obviously came, technology, design, and programs, and I will leave that bit for Jinmo to talk about, so I'm just going to talk about the evolution of the profession of architecture. Now, in the 60s, the generalist architect profession, which was coined in the 60s, was eventually subdivided into new professions that we have today. Interior designers, urban planners, interior designers, landscape architects, and CGI artists, which from my experience is referred to as the render dude. Because every office I worked in, it was one person who was doing the renders, and it was the render dude. He was miserable. He was always sleeping at the office, and at one office that I worked at, my colleague had the mattress, so he was like blowing it up and sleeping there for days. So, but on the other hand, if you look at the opportunities and the progress that happened for in the profession itself, it created more opportunities for people to dedicate to specializations. So I have interior designers and that are, more interior based. We have people who have time to dedicate to things that they enjoy more. They have time to create, to develop, to read, things that they enjoy more. So time is the constant repetitive concept, which eventually led to the digital revolution. And again, it created a bit of flexibility this time. So now we have remote work, we have new office spaces, we're not in these cubicles anymore, we have fancy spaces to work that everybody wants to. I was lucky enough to work at an office like that, and it was referred to as the cool office. It was always having that cool vibe. You're not in a cubicle. And freelancing work, I'm sure a lot of us are doing freelance, and the most important one is the remote work. It did take an entire pandemic for the offices to be like, oh, okay, we can do this, but still, we reached it. Obviously, we have progress and we have new opportunities, we have new tools in the construction world and in the architectural world, and hopefully, AI will be able to solve the other problems, the other side of our profession. Yes, we are the creative people, but we are also doing emails and meetings, and we're doing presentations and renders that are taking endless amount of time. So if we can use AI to get rid of all the things that are stopping us from doing or being more creative, isn't that going to be more advantageous? I mean, I'm really tired of filling up timesheets. I don't know about you. Just every single day, 8 hours of what I did. I'm an architect. I do a lot of things. Doesn't have to be work all the time. It could be me just thinking. How am I gonna do that? So my idea is that we should, as you mentioned, time is very important, and we should utilize it. Thank you.
Silviia basically naturally attempted a rebuttal around time and efficiency, providing space for creativity. So let's see what Jinmo has to continue with on the opening arguments for pro-AI.
All right, I think while I'm preparing this one, I was too modest. I would like to say, yeah, no matter we're saying about AI or design, it's on your hand, it's on your car. We cannot disregard this one anymore. It's an inevitable thing. So I would like to mention that one first, and then I can talk about the AI and design. Urban and architecture design is rapidly embracing our AI technology, no matter we want or we deny that one. It's moving beyond the conventional methodologies to explore the new realm of creativity. Design automation is advancing at a remarkable pace right now, driven by the progress of AI seamlessly integrating with the space planning to foster innovative design interactions. It's becoming a new tool or technology for understanding cities too, paving the way for discovering novel insights into urban environments. The emergence of AI technology and its adoption into the field of the design or planning did not happen overnight. As early as 1968, method for designing urban spaces through interactive chat-based interactions like ChatGPT that we're using today had already been introduced, coinciding with the advent of the computers. Likewise, the foundational concept of the deep learning, convolutional neural network, which we use today, were conceptually discovered nearly 50, 60 years ago. And it have undergone that decades of development and implementation. We're just witnessing its implementations because the health of development of the hardwares, internet infrastructures, storage technology to reach the current state. Based on the development of these technology and the interwoven history of design and AI, I believe we're not witnessing entirely new concepts, but rather continuing along this trajectory that has been steadily evolving over time. In particular, the recent emergence of learning-based AI, machine learning, deep learning, reinforcement learning, has introduced a variety of the design methodology previously unseen, while also enabling the reinterpretation of existing design knowledge to explore the new solutions. I expect that the current engagement of AI with design will, in retrospect, be regarded as merely the prologue to a much larger narrative, not just like what we're seeing through ChatGPT, Stable Diffusion, and Midjourney. That's my argument. Thank you.
All right, so Jinmo wrapping up the opening arguments with essentially a reminder that a lot of this technology and application of this technology has been pervasive for quite some time, but now it's in everyone's hands. All right, so at this point, the opening arguments have been thrown down. The gauntlets on each time are here. Now we're going to go into rebuttals, which is basically the I heard you, but. And to start that, Dennis, let's go back to you and maybe more stories about guitars. We'll see, maybe.
I'll start by saying that I have a very human solution for the timesheets thing. I just don't do them. And my boss is here, and okay, so I am the old person in the room, and I'll put my glasses on just to prove that. I started my career as a graphic designer in 1983, 1 year before the Apple released the Mac. So I'm a designer that has designed before the computer and throughout its evolution as a creative tool. Back then, if you wanted a logo or an ad, sure, give me a couple of weeks. I'll get back to you. I've got to think about it, make some sketches, order some type, change my mind, talk to a photographer, illustrator, discuss, refine, etc. Hey, it took Michelangelo 4 years to complete the Sistine Chapel, for Christ's sake. Today, I routinely get asked to make stuff within a few days, sometimes even within a few hours. Make it faster. Well, let's make it cheaper if we can. What is the end game of all that? If faster and cheaper is where technology takes us, what happens to better? My Mac doesn't make me better. It just makes me faster and cheaper. Spending time in here makes me better, not here. At some point, you get so cheap that you no longer have value. At some point, You won't need me or my slowly percolated and perfected ideas. We'll have an app for that. But technology, just like fast food, gives you the illusion of fulfillment. But really, it just takes your money, triggers exactly the right endorphins, and gets you addicted to things like bad sugars and fats. How fast food dulls your palate from real food experiences, so too AI can atrophy your brain. Because we've asked the machine to do the hard parts of our thinking, the hard journey of failure, patience, and discipline that paves the way to creativity. Creativity cannot exist with shortcuts. Yes, AI is a tool, but it is a dangerous one, and it's not like a hammer. Being able to use a hammer doesn't make you a carpenter. But we are telling AI, one heck of a hammer, we're asking it to be the carpenter too. The Industrial Revolution promised that machines would take away the menial tasks so that humans would have more time for creative pursuits, invention, and art. What happens to humanity if we also hand over those precious things to machines? Those things that make us human. Personal creative expression, ideas born from brilliant mistakes, art. What then becomes our purpose? It wasn't meant to be that somber.
You do have your own mic for a later mic drop, Dennis, and that way everyone kind of knows where you're at. All right, Sunita, you can welcome up for your rebuttal as well.
So we've heard from the other side that AI is going to free us up from all of these menial tasks. It's going to give us back so much time, no more timesheets. I also hate timesheets. It's going to supercharge us. We're hearing that it's going to be accessible to everyone, and so it's going to unlock these superpowers. But I want to question also, as we're having this discussion, who is really benefiting? This silver bullet is kind of being sold by tech companies to a lot of us. When you are selling, sorry, there's too many hammer metaphors in this debate, but when you're selling a hammer, you want everything to look like nails. I want us to kind of take a trip back in time, not that far, but I want to talk about this other innovative tool that was supposed to really disrupt and enhance creative industries, and that's social media. So social media was initially thought to be this really fantastic way for artists to reach audience, and it was going to democratize platform. Instead, it really became a tool, and we've all seen this, it happened in our lifetimes, a tool really shaped by advertising dollars. And so for a lot of creatives, it has become a part of their workflow, but it's not one that they enjoy. It's one that I consistently hear takes away from their creative time, away from that creative process to ponder and percolate. Instead, having to kind of participate in a sort of performative version of creativity. And social media has the potential to do real harm. It was supposed to be a very, very lighthearted tool, and it's shaping our world. It's a tool that's really done more faster than I think anyone gave it credit for, and we are giving a lot of credit to AI. We know AI will change the world. In what ways? What kind of tool do we want in our tool belt? Ooh, too fast. We'll look at these guys for a bit longer. I just want to reiterate that creative work is emotional. It's tied to our emotions. It's tied to our human experience. And AI as a tool, it doesn't have access to that emotional experience. It's looking to the past. It's learning from a data set. And we give that data set. So it is just a tool. Is it a good tool for creative work? Well, I think emotions will let us jump our data set. Emotions will let us be quirky. And accessing people is what's going to give us the more perspectives that we need to heal a lot of what needs healing right now. And AI as a tool, is it really saving time? Or is it just helping us write more emails so we can then receive more emails? Is it perpetuating a cycle, or is it really a tool that's going to give us a meaningful response to burnout? I don't think burnout needs you to spend more time engaged with a screen. I think what we want, we've all experienced burnout, we've all been there. What we want is to really step away. We want to be in our human body, in our human experience. So as we give value to this tool, as we incorporate it into more and more ways, I really want us to think about the limitations of this tool compared to what it's promising as a silver bullet.
Really provocative to kind of turn on the law of accelerating returns into one of diminishing. So that's fantastic. Thanks, Nita. All right. One side's trying to pull you over to their side right now, to their camp. Now we're going to give the rope to the other side of the team. Silviia, come on up for your rebuttal.
So back to the idea of time. Isn't AI a tool that is part of optimization? This is what the whole industrial revolution was about, to save time, to make it better, to have time, to have the opportunity to study other things, to have different roles, which just as before it opened the opportunity to have new roles, to have new professions, AI today is also opening this opportunity for us to have new roles, to have new jobs. I mean, there is already a job out there for, if I'm not mistaken, for prompts. People are having actually that skill and turning it into a job. So just this one became known to us, but we have so many that are about to come. We have so many tools out there, never-ending amount of tools, apps, programs, that are eventually going to be categorized into one field, and only one person would be specialized in them. So they will again subdivide. It is part of our evolution. It is inevitable for us. We will always find a new problem. We will always find a new solution. We will always have jobs. If it is not this one, it will be something else. But we have to continue going forward. And being an inventor, being a creator, being a human is what brings that all those opportunities for us. So maybe AI will help us gain time, but it will help us maybe gain time in a different way for our profession. Do not think about it, like, don't jump right away to robots and somebody help me do my laundry, right? But what about the time that we do not have for our profession? What about time for journals, for articles, for participating in these debates? I mean, we all met after work. Why can this not be during work? Why can this not be part of my timesheets? I really want this to be part of our job, because we are sharing, we are creating, we're learning. And the best way to learn or to create is to engage, to have a network, to travel. Also, giving back to the community is important. And giving back doesn't necessarily mean in the most mainstream part where you volunteer. No, there could be other opportunities. What about our junior designers, our junior or fresh graduate, let's say? There are a lot of internship, a lot of summer programs for students, but there is not a lot of opportunity for juniors, those who constantly have to stay at work, constantly have to basically carry the weight of the office. It's always the juniors. So how about creating a program for them during our free time? How about reading regulations and bylaws? As a newcomer to Canada, I am suffering with the amount of bylaws and codes and regulations. It's never ending. So where does this time go? Is it part of my job, or is it an interest? Is it a hobby? Where does this time go? So I'm kind of hoping that AI will give us a possibility to have time for our profession as well, and not just for leisure. Thank you.
Okay, Jinmo, it's your time to round out the rebuttals. What you've heard, what do you want to say to it?
I have many things to say, but let me introduce my rebuttals. Yeah, some may argue, especially in the light of the images generated by generative AI platforms, which is commercialized this day, right? So how can these be considered design outcomes, right? This is just images, and I always say that we need to design something to build, for example, like architecture. We need to design drawings, images to build it instead of making something as a visually appealed images. Of course, I fully agree with this skepticism. However, I could not agree with the notion of debating AI's limitations based solely on the outputs created using such commercialized tools. This is akin to criticizing Photoshop for design work by claiming it restricts extraordinary 3D interactions because it's a Photoshop. Are we perhaps so preoccupied with the figuring out how to use these technologies for design that we often forget to ask what these tools truly represent and what role they play in our design processes? So I firmly believe that we must always acknowledge AI as a tool or technology, not an entity. The tendency to overly anthropomorphize AI, coupled with the commercialized experience of systems like Alexa, ChatGPT, Stable Diffusions, often leads us to prematurely discuss its possibilities and limitations too. To me, AI is like a fire. I'm going to use an analogy. It holds immense potential to be indispensable to our lives, yet it can also lead to catastrophic destructions depending on how, for what, to what extent it is going to be used. We can burn a fire to warm our place, but at the same time, we can burn gunpowder to demolish a building, depending on your intentions, right? Similarly, how we as designers choose to utilize AI technology is what truly matters here. But focusing on these critical questions, we can move beyond the pessimism shaped by the perceived limitation of current fragmented technologies. That's what I want to say too.
Thank you, Jinmo. In many ways, you're reminding the audience and trying to sway them by saying, don't blame the tool. It's really both the user and the creator. Okay, wonderful. We're going to wrap up with our closing arguments right now. This has been pretty rapid fire. And then I want you to start thinking and deliberating amongst yourselves because it will be time to vote shortly. All right, Team Human, come on up.
Let me hammer home my point.
Team Hammer.
All right, let's, since we're doing the history stuff. There are around 18 versions of the most famous painting in the world. Scholars argue perhaps more than one Mona Lisa was actually painted by Da Vinci. Most of these Mona Lisas were painted in and around Da Vinci's time. So you see, it was a very popular exercise to emulate the masterpiece for the students of Da Vinci and other contemporaries. It's the same pigments, similar brush strokes, all datable to around the same time. Of course, no one has ever met Da Vinci to ask him which one was his. So we're not even sure that we have the right one hanging in the Louvre. The original was stolen in 1911 and then recovered, we think. But none of that stops about 10 million people every year from standing in line to see that particular one. Does it matter if it was actually Da Vinci's or not? Nope. Because it's not about the painting itself. It's about Da Vinci himself. The painting is just a symbol of his genius. You go because you want to say you saw a Da Vinci. If word got out that they lost the original again, but not to worry, at an exact replica, exact brush strokes, exact pigment formula, exact everything was put in its place, generated by AI, of course, would anyone still visit it? No. So it's not, in fact, about the art or the artifact. It's about the artist, the human behind the art.
Sunita?
Your closing remarks are not typically a time to introduce any new statements, but I do really just want to applaud that last example. We have talked a lot about time during this debate and how we want to use our time. We've talked a lot about tools, and this debate is really about is it the right tool for the job? And there are a lot of jobs, but I think that last Mona Lisa example really highlighted that context matters for all of us. When we look at art, when we enter buildings, when we engage in the world in almost any way, context really matters. And that human connection of something that's built and designed by another human brain that has that emotional connection that lets you connect with it is, I think, really important. I really want us to think about this when we consider this tool, that we want work done by other humans. We want to live in a more connected world. We don't want to live in a world that is more and more distanced from us.
Okay, and final arguments from Team AI.
So, as a conclusion, I just would like everyone to remember that AI is a tool powered by humans. So if anybody is thinking that they're taking over, our jobs are going away, loosen up. It's just a tool that is actually for our benefit. And it depends who you are as a person, as a character, because it has the ability to be personalized according to you and according to what you like. So it is a tool. But also, we must come together for a better world. So this is the time to participate and be involved in the world of AI. Because there need to be a lot of discussions about ethics, about morals, about boundaries, about where do we stop certain things and where we can push. So if you are really worried, participate. Otherwise, the blame is on you. And lastly, I just wanted to put this slide. This is Gigi, my ChatGPT. I asked Gigi his opinion about whether he's pro-AI or pro-human, let's say. So I'm going to leave this bit with you, and I will pass it on to Jinmo, and you can, while he's moving, you can read. Thank you.
All right, I prepared something, but I would like to question something. Do we have any common definition about creativity? Do we have any kind of common definition about intelligence? If we have, in my sense, that we can develop AI that can have a creativity or intelligence actually. These days, we are very confused by the concept between automation and intelligence. So mostly what we are looking at and experiencing is basically like an automation tool, like the navigation on your car. But in the design domain, AI has already amazed us in many ways, particularly like architecture design, graphic design, or film design, even music, like enhancing not only efficiency and driving the journey towards the new realm of the creativity. We are interacting, not just we are ordering what we want to do to the AI. At the same time, we got a feedback from there, and now we are expanding our concept of the creativity. We must recognize AI not merely as a tool, but as a kind of things that interacts with us through data. both producers as a consumers or users of the data, we need to understand these dynamics between the AI and us. These dynamic is going to be very important, and prepared how to harness it in ways that unlock even greater potentials. We don't want to burn the house, right? So we need to understand how the fire works like that. We need to understand how the AI works these days. We cannot remain stagnant at this stage of advancement, merely marveling at the novelty AI brings to design. Thank you.
Okay, was that fun? Yeah, I know. It also feels really serious because it's really hard to be on opposite sides of a team. There's a wall between them right now, so it's difficult. All right, we're going to get into open discussion, but right now we're going to do the hard part. Find your voting sticks. I know, you've got to make a decision. Later on, you can apologize to the debaters you didn't vote for and have an open dialogue. Okay. So who feels that AI, as us in the creative and design and innovation realm, that it is your friend, that it is your colleague, it is your philosopher, it is your muse? Who votes for pro-AI team? Okay. Oh my God, someone did it 50%. Someone hacked their, I like it. Okay, that's great. Fabulous. Okay. Who believes in the power of intuition, creativity, and that only to know humanity is to be human? Who's on the pro-human team? Oh, I think it's pro-human by a hair. In many ways, it's not to be surprised because we are emotional beings, right? The reason why I really like the debate format for a conversation like this is it actually shows how ridiculous, and we even know, the debaters even before meeting this, have tremendous common ground. But as we step outside and as we see the headlines or the Medium posts or the Substacks what we're reading or what's happening on social media, it's really easy as anyone in a creative realm what comes from our mind and from our hands is how we make our living and how we make our mark on the world. A tool that is being, I can never say I can't even say it. A tool that is being philosophized as something that's actually going to make that job more easy, more powerful, more magical, but actually strips away the ability to do that is a really scary thing. And at the same time, we also know that in this world that runs so rapidly and quickly, the world moves so profoundly quickly that any tool that promises to give us back time as a human also feels really powerful and special. But at the same time, as we kind of move from debate into dialogue, what's really important, and I think why debate is kind of funny to do this, is that when we talk about AI, we kind of all put on this hat as the consumer. The one has to consume the technology or the future that is being created or written for us. And similar to Sunita's slide that showed, who really benefits, who's really creating. And so when we think about this world of tools and who's behind the algorithms, especially those that aren't open source, is what feedback mechanisms and algorithms are driving the tools that we have in our hand, and what accidental biases are we then putting in and reinforcing when we use these tools. And so the C words that I often look for is to shift from consumer, someone who it's easy to kind of throw up her hands and say, I actually have no power in creating tomorrow. I have no power in creating the future. It really is consolidated in a handful of tech billionaires, and we just hope to get a piece of the pie, is in fact put the C word of citizen instead. We are co-creators in tomorrow. We do this in collaborative ways. And in order to do that, we need to have the prickly conversations. We need to scratch at the vulnerabilities. We need to talk about the power that we each hold. And so while a debate is kind of a fun thing to do and poke fun at the very opposite sides of the spectrum, so we have to recognize that it's constantly fluid. And the only way to really work towards a good future is to continue to participate in it, which is why I really appreciated what Jinmo said on the end. So while we were kind of forced to choose one side or the other, that gray in between is really important to sit in constantly. And I encourage all of you, as you go back whether it's around a cocktail table later tonight, whether it's at the coffee stand tomorrow at work, whether it's on a conversation with your children, whether it's with a professor, whether it's at your place of employment, is to have these gray conversations about this right now. Talk about the things we're excited about. Talk about the reinforcement mechanisms we want to have to make positive change and use tools in really amazing ways. And talk about the things that we're uncertain about. And what needs to happen around that to create parameters of trust for us to feel like we can create in really amazing ways and have a mark on the world for a better future. So with that, I thank our debaters. And then I'm also going to ask each of you to stand up and high five or shake hands and get back on neutral territory because we're going to have a conversation. So high fives, please. Hug it out. From enemies to friends again. Fantastic. Okay, lovely. So one thing I would like to do before we have maybe a conversation amongst all of us is I think Amy might be around with a microphone. I'm looking. The passive microphone one. I think there's a box that gets thrown around. Oh, I see a box. Do we have a runner? Oh, there's Amy. Thanks, Amy. Oh my God. Ah! Okay, we're going to give Amy a moment to shove the microphone back into the box. I think the screen looks okay. Maybe not. Oh, the microphone top. Okay, also, if the mic for any reason has technical difficulties, thanks to roughness, holler, and I'll do my best to repeat. What I'd like for any of you to do is to just maybe share with us what's on your mind. What is something that you're excited about when it comes to the realm of AI and the world of design and creativity? Or do you have a little bit of a fear or uncertainty that you want to throw out? So right now I just want to look around the room and just see who has something that they might like to share into this conversation or debate. And I'll give you a moment. Hi.
I think we've actually started off on the wrong premise by calling the intelligence we're trying to leverage artificial. I think it's actually our human intelligence augmented by the tool that we really need to focus on. And I think that holds great possibility. Our ability to visualize, our ability to cross boundaries of language and ethnology, etc., with diversity. When we're researching something, etc., or to the act of a creator, right? At the same time, we as humans have to start rewarding human creativity. If you're at Art Market this weekend, for example, there's 400 artists, and my daughter, who has done some design, said it's derivative, right? And her judgment is not necessarily the judgment of the people who bought things, but we don't necessarily go to the creator in an art market. Instead, we go to IKEA. And it's not the same thing, right? So that's the contradiction in our human behavior.
Yeah, excellent point. What else bubbled up for anyone else that's here tonight?
First off, thank you all for this was a lovely debate. I'm a researcher and I develop technologies for a living, but today I sided with human because the way I see it, the challenge and the issue is not AI, it's the systems that we have around us. And the systems have failed us before. Our systems have let us down when it comes to mental health, when it comes to family, when it comes to authenticity, equity. Human value in general was always put aside in favor of money and profit. And it's because of that we should be fearful about how will they treat generative AI and how will they handle it really. I think that's a legitimate concern that we all have. And it makes sense that we double down on the human side until we really are sure that the things we value, deep work, creativity, the emotional side of creativity, would not be stripped away from us.
Yeah, don't take the human from the technology. That's great. Anything from anyone else? Sure, right here and kind of in center front. Thanks, Ian.
Can I make a comment on that last
Please,
bit?
Dennis.
Yeah. So we also have to sort of think about the fact that we think of AI as what it is today, which a lot of it, at least in my world, is generative image making and using ChatGPT to help write copy and things like that. But the part that worries me more is about where we are going with it, or where we are going to allow it to go. And I go back to my point about atrophying our minds, and at some point we do stop thinking. We stop making the mistakes that we made when we were toddlers, learning how to walk and talk and all those kinds of things. We're going to let technology make those kinds of things. And so there is a lot of distinctions between where we are right now and what might be. And I agree, as an automation tool, of course it's an amazing tool, and it does do the things that we don't want to do. But when we start to cross that line of creativity is when, it starts to really those are the things that's what makes us human, I think,
Well, go ahead.
Thank you very much, first of all. And I just wanted to raise a question of the copyright. So for me, as a person who will work and design things on my own, and I also use AI, so it helps me with my job. And I think that's one of the major concerns. The other thing that it seems like, I don't remember who exactly, but it was mentioned that AI is kind of focused on things that have been created in the past, as opposed to, okay, yes, sorry, I just wasn't sure who was that, so I didn't want to quote. So, but I just want to, I think for a moment and imagine that we designed something new, or do we actually? Because I think that we subconsciously, unconsciously, we see more things that we think we actually see, right? So imagine you walk down the street and how many I don't know, billboards you've seen. What was the shoes of the person who walked by, right? We probably see more than we think, and all of this, our experience is actually, will be later on in our works, right? Unconsciously. Yeah. Unconsciously. And maybe the last thing, sorry, I don't want to take the stage, but I felt like I want to talk too. So the other thing is we've mentioned laundry and people, not being very happy with the task. So I just wanted to give a heads up that laundry also uses AI. So we'll be there. We'll be there one day, and hopefully we'll be able to utilize our time in a better manner. But the free time is a luxury. So thinking that we have a lot of time to create, and not a lot of people can do that, has been always a luxury, and I think it will always be. That's it. Thank you so much.
No, that's great. Thanks, Marina. I'd like to maybe just talk about that notion of ownership and copyright, and also what is truly unique. So just open it up, and first to Mike, go for it.
Well, actually, I wanted to go a little bit backwards to
Sure.
One of the comments that came from the back. I've noticed even when you were trying to phrase your point of view, you use the word they, how they are going to decide. You are going to decide. That is the whole point of AI. You have the ability today to participate and to make a change towards the correct narrative. That is the reason why AI is a gray area, because it is a combination of a human mind and a tool. Regardless of what type of tool that is, it is still a tool. So without a human, it cannot exist. So if a human does not put boundaries to it, so it is not they, it is us. It is you, it is them, but it's us. We are creating the world. We are the creators. We are the decision makers. It's not the AI. If there was something that was created that you are against, it means that the human created it, that you do not like. It is not the AI. That's why it is always a gray area, and that's why debates, I think, like this are a little bit difficult, because eventually we secretly all agree on each other's points, because it is such a vast topic, right? So we should make a change, not them. Thank you.
I would like to add, her comments, yeah, we need to be very careful when we anthropomorphize AI, that we're gonna expect, like naturally we're expecting it's gonna be like humanoid, which can understand our conversation. But actually, we need to distinguish the current AI technology. I don't wanna be like a scholarly deep, technological deep, but let's think about this one actually, like previously, most like a science relies on deductions. Deduction is A is B, B is C, so A is C. But now, these AI, learning-based AIs, they are relying on inductive ways to make decisions. So as Sunita says, like from the data, we'll find or with fit, we say this is fit. We fit the probabilistic like a landscape about the data to detect the patterns exactly. But what is that patterns? Like, because we are producing that data, our daily lives, our like even building code, like regulation, all our activities like are embedded in the data. That's why I'm pretty sure anyway it's gonna be biased. I agree that one. So, and that's why we have to be very careful to understand that these technologies, instead of being like treating this one as a human beings or like a living creatures, we need to be aware of, like, this is just technology, like internet, like chips, electricity, this is one kind of technology, and then we can get our authority to make any decisions. That's what I want to say.
Sunita.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to jump in on this conversation. I think one of the things that maybe hasn't come up is the idea of scale or monolith. And so I agree, like, as artists, we're all inspired by and taking inspiration from everything we see. So we're all kind of like grabbing ideas and stealing ideas. But we exist at human scale. So like I live in Calgary, I see a certain range of things. So you get variety, and you get a bunch of design solutions or created solutions that all have that variability. So in an ecosystem, it's a healthier ecosystem to have all of that kind of differentiation. When we're all using ChatGPT or a large language model that is not open source, we can't interrogate it, we can't ask what's in it, we're not really even seeing what made it. That is when we do start to feel more like a consumer than like a citizen. It's very hard for us to have impact on those kind of mega products that we are worldwide, globally accessing. So we're now, not only are we all kind of using the same tool, we're also all feeding into the same tool. So instead of a bunch of little bumps, we're kind of getting this one bell curve. And that is a part of what sort of worries me about its use as a design tool, is that it's not at human scale, it's at digital scale. And that's not great for individuality, little quirkiness, those things that like, honestly truly make a great design or a great piece that can speak to us, because we're at human scale.
Yeah, fantastic point. I'm going to ask each of our debaters to present one reflection or question you'd like the audience to go away thinking about, if that's all right.
Sure.
Go for it, Dennis.
Okay. So picking up on this is what's in my head right now. Thinking about, anthropomorphizing, if I said that word correctly, making technology human. I think that ship has already sailed. I mean, we talk about, AI like it is human, like we did with robots and things like that. We make robots that try to look like humans or dogs or things like that, and I, Google DeepMind, right? Like it's like we are already down that path. So, I'm not sure if it's the right path, but where does that path lead us when we, start thinking about things? We're really trying to make technology sort of be like us. And I think that that's the big thing that we have to think about is like, how do we harness that? How do we control it? How do we stay in control? We know that technology can actually probably, the grand vision is that it will start to, think independently of us and create its own sort of mind. And that's the scary part, because that's the part that we lose, right? Because we are giving to the technology. And I just really think about, what happens to us when we do that.
Another provocation or reflection you want the audience to walk away with? Anyone else right now?
I can, in a way, continue the idea, but from the other point of view. I think why we are not going to reach, in a way, that level is because the difference between humans and AI is choice. We have the ability to think and come up with new ideas in a sense of choice. If you present to an AI an option, A or B, it will choose A or B. If you come up to a human and ask A or B, especially if it is a friend of mine, they will pick C. Always. So we have the ability to choose because our minds are never ending. We're not even using 100% of our brains, but we are worried about, robots. So I think it's safe to say that we are on the safe side just because we are born. We are not, robotically manufactured. So I think we kind of need to educate ourselves more about AI. I feel there is a lot of misunderstanding, misinterpretation about AI, because even if you just properly kind of like research what is AI, you will eventually come to find that it has nothing to do with what you initially thought it was. It's not artificial intelligence, it's something else. So I would really recommend everyone to do a little bit of your own research. I don't know, pick a field that you're interested in and see in your field how AI is being operated or utilized or dealt with.
I think that's actually a great place for us to end, is that as you look at your particular field, but also if you look at your own areas of curiosity, there are communities out there that are also questioning what's happening right now. So find other conversations, find meetups, come to places like this. Why I really appreciate d.talks coming and being a part of Innovation Week is that when we really mix the worlds of art, creativity, design, architecture, built environment with the world of innovation and technology and the startups that are here in Calgary, true innovation and human ingenuity comes when those worlds clash. We pretend that they're oil and water and that art and creativity is over here and technology and innovation is over here. We end up in a lot of deficit around what's good for us as a community. So if you haven't been here at the home of Platform, please check it out more frequently, collide with the other communities. And again, I would just thank you to the d.talks team for hosting tonight. And there is no clear answer, but ask questions, participate, and constantly dial your moral and ethical compass, okay? Thanks for coming.
That was so fun. So different from our typical panel discussions. How did you guys like the format of debate? Was that, yeah, you had a good time? Yeah, good. Well, it takes a community to raise a community, and d.talks has many people to say thank you to. Thanks to Jasmine for doing such a great job and moderating this debate for us. Thank you to all of you for being the devil's advocate and representing each side. Platform Calgary, thank you for your space. Really generous of you. Alberta Real Estate Foundation and Calgary Arts and Development are good supporters of Design Talks. If this conversation made you curious, if it made you think, if it made you want to join an online community, then please hop into our Discord. This is our way of building community beyond our events. We want people to come in, we want to have conversation with you, we want you to be curious with us, and so please join our Discord.